I'm Max Kennedy, and this is my story. When I was 9 years old, I began attending a church in Oklahoma City that my sisters really loved. They were 6 and 8 years older than me, so they were teenagers, and they fell in love with this youth department at the church, so much so that they aggravated my parents Sunday after Sunday to go with them to their church. Finally, my mom and dad said, "Get up, Max, we're going." So I went to church and immediately fell in love with church. I'd never really been to church in my life until then. And there was just something special about that pastor there. He was young and spoke in a way that I could understand, and I loved to hear him preach. And so I wanted to go back many Sundays, even when my parents didn't. And I made my way to the front of the church every Sunday morning, and I know I was a little strange, but I liked to sit on the front, and I sat in the second row. I can still picture it in my mind. Second row on the right of the middle aisle every Sunday and listened to this guy preach. And I just loved it. One Sunday, though, in particular, I remember he began to talk about sin in a way that I really, for the first time, understood that he wasn't just talking about everybody else, that I was included in that group. Even though I was just 9, I understood that I had done a lot of bad things that I needed forgiveness for. So at the end of that service, when he invited people to come forward to accept Christ, I stood up and went down there, and the associate pastor talked to me and explained what it meant to accept Christ. And right then and there, I asked Jesus Christ to come into my heart and save me. And it wasn't too much longer after that. I got very involved, of course, in the church. And at about 12 years old, I remember going to a winter retreat at Falls Creek Youth Camp. And I just felt compelled to go out into nature and just kind of walk by myself and talk with God. And it was there that I felt a real distinct call from God. It wasn't an audible voice, but certainly He spoke through His Holy Spirit into my heart and let me know that He wanted me to be in the ministry, that I was going to be a full-time minister someday. So I actually surrendered to being a pastor, and it was there at Liberty. I really think that God took me there for one main reason. It was to meet the love of my life, Jennifer. She's awesome. Through her encouragement and people around me, we decided after we had our first son, Tate, to go back to school. If I was going to be a pastor, I felt like I needed to be trained. So I went to Baptist Bible College in Springfield, Missouri. And it was there that I began being trained to preach and pastor, and fell in love with the idea that maybe God could somehow use me somewhere to minister to a group of people for a long, long time. Having been pastor at Park Lake Church now for 15 years, I can't wait to see what God has planned next for me. My story is still being written, but I know one thing: I'm certainly not ashamed to call myself a believer. I'm not ashamed to say that Jesus Christ is my Lord. And I just hope for you that wherever you are in life, maybe you've thought about becoming a believer. Maybe you've thought, no, that could never happen to me. I don't know. But I do know this: if you'll let God have control of your life, you'll give your heart to Jesus Christ, and then just follow Him and His Word, you're still going to experience some pain from time to time, and some bad stuff will happen from time to time. But here's the key, and it's been with me, is that when I've gone through those times, Jesus has been there with me every step of the way. I can't imagine life without Him, and that's why I'm not ashamed. And I hope that if you do give Jesus Christ a try, you'll realize that when you let Him write your story, no matter what happens, it's going to have a beautiful ending.